Hi everyone, welcome to the Menzies School of Health Research podcast series for the NT Youth Health Summit initiative called Youth Choices, Youth Voices, where we aim to hear from young people and specialists about youth health priorities and issues affecting young people's health in the NT. A special shout out to our sponsors for this event, including HOT North, Charles Darwin University, the Northern Territory Government, NTPHN, Bridging the Gap, Ironbark Corporation and Chart Air. I'm Sarah Clifford, and today on episode 12, I'll be having a chat with Sean Rung, who works as Communications Officer for the HOT North program at Menzies School of Health Research and Flinders University. Sean has over 7 years of strategic communication experience working in the health and education sector in Northern Australia. As the Communications Advisor for HOT North and for RHDAustralia, he leads media, marketing and communication activities aimed at translating evidence-based research into education and public health messaging for health practitioners and communities. Welcome to the podcast, Sean. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about the HOT North initiative and what it aims to do?
Sure. So the HOT North initiative is an NHMRC funded project that started in about 5 years ago now. And when we first started, our main goal was to sort of get researchers up here and keep them in the north. So it's about building capacity in the north. We have a lot of people who come up here, but then a lot of people leave. So it's all about trying to keep people up here. So we're providing opportunities for people through like scholarships, pilot project funding, and then we had fellowship opportunities. So really just get people up here, fund them to do some research, and then keep, hopefully they can continue on with their careers.
So you mentioned the fellowships and the scholarships, and that obviously ranges across a lot of different projects in terms of improving health in Northern Australia. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the main health topics that HOT North supports?
So when we first started funding research, we were focused on 5 sort of topics, key research themes really, and that was like skin health, respiratory health, antimicrobial resistance, chronic disease, and vector-borne and emerging diseases. That's things like malaria. And so we've sort of pivoted since then, and we've added lots of different things. And it's become more about what people wanted than what we wanted them to do. So we were able to sort of evolve the program to meet people's needs. So for instance, the Youth Health Summit, that really wasn't on our radar in the beginning. And so we listened to what people needed funding for, and then we tried to meet that need.
That's amazing. Very responsive to what's going on. I love that. So you work in comms for HOT North and also for RHDAustralia. What does this look like? What types of things do you do in your role?
Yeah, so I do, obviously social media is one of the things I do. So whether it's hopping on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, there's lots of different channels. But I mean, it's also about creating like strategies, communication strategies, figuring out who your target audience is, who are you talking to, because the messages aren't going to be the same for, say, somebody you're trying to talk to, like, a young person, versus talking to somebody who's maybe a parent of a young person. It's very different messages. So you need to figure out, sort of who you're talking to, and then get that targeted messaging going.
And can you tell our listeners a little bit about why translating evidence-based research into education and public health messaging is so important?
Yeah, I mean, that's it, isn't it? I mean, what good is it if the research shows that something works or doesn't work, then policies and practices need to be responsive to that. And if you don't sort of bridge that gap between the research, what the research shows, and then actually actioning it to get it on the ground, then there's no point in doing it. So it's really important. I think that's where HOT North does a really good job, especially through the regional workshops, is bringing that sort of, we're quite responsive to what the region wants. So they set the program, we listen to what they want, then we get the people, the experts to come and speak to those things that they want to hear about. And it's all, it's all evidence-based stuff. So it's not like we're just making it up. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Yeah.
So thinking a little bit about, I suppose, individual health messaging. So we've talked about service providers and them doing professional development and learning. What is health messaging, I suppose, on that individual level, and why is it so important to get the message right?
I mean, if you're not, I think in public health, there's a lot of emphasis on just throwing out health messages without thinking about who you're talking to. Sort of a one size fits all approach, and that doesn't always work. So I think if you really want to, if you want engagement from people, if you want them to actually engage with you, it's one thing to sort of put things out and people see it. But if you want people to then react to that and get something out of it, or come back and ask questions, or then they see maybe some information and then they actually talk to their health professional about what they've seen. That's what you want. You want something that speaks to people. So I think it's really important to have that sort of targeted health messaging. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned the kind of the call to action. We want people to then go and talk to doctors or talk to their family or friends. I love that as an explanation. It's really great.
Yeah.
So just before we wrap, a little birdie, your wife who works in my team, told us that you like to play video games sometimes. What's your favorite? Yeah. What's your favorite?
Oh, my favorite game, man. I haven't played in a while, to be honest. I've been too busy now that I have like a 6-year-old, I don't get much time to play. I like racing games. Yeah, I like racing games. I like shooters. Bit of RPG. Yeah, it just depends what the flavor is. I like to change it up and sort of keep it interesting. So, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you.
Wish I had more time.
Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. Did you have anything to add before we go, or a message to young people?
Just make your voices heard. Like, I know a lot of times I remember being, younger and like just getting beat over the head with things and I felt like nobody listened to me, and it can be quite like you give up, right? Because it's just like, it feels like you're not getting anywhere. So I just urge people, young people, don't give up. Don't give in because you're frustrated that you feel like nobody's listening to you. You just got to find the right people to talk to. So talk to your friends, like figure out how you can channel like that energy that maybe you and other young people around you are feeling, so like combine. I think that's really happening. I think that the pandemic has sort of brought that on as well. People joining, becoming more like a more community, like an online community. So build on things like that, and you can make a lot of impact doing it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Well, thank you so much for joining us. That was the 12th episode of our Menzies School of Health Research podcast series for the NT Youth Health Summit initiative called Youth Choices, Youth Voices. If you can, please support the Youth Health Summit initiative by getting in touch via the Menzies School of Health Research website. Thank you for listening. Please join us again next time.